Fat rip, man. Look at this shit. It's just all over the place. Alright. Well, what up, Mo? Alright, good charger in my pocket. How you doing, man? Everything set up. We're also gonna finish our DBD grind. I got too sleepy yesterday. We're gonna continue our DBD grind today. Right now to the next level. And after that, gotta go to the next. You know, it sucks. I'm literally gonna, after we complete one more level, I'm gonna be like 100 shards away. But I have to level up again just to get shards. That's the only way to get iridescent shards in DBD. Which is a great, it is great, not to spend your own money on behavior made characters and all that. Why is the iPhone 4? Why is the iPhone 4 trending, bro? I was literally, what, like 12 years ago? People nowadays are out here saying the home button's nostalgic. Let me get my multi-stream chat opened and everything. I gotta do that real fast. Like 7 reloads and incredible amount of luck. Hey Google. Skip. Why does it just randomly turn off my fucking music? Hey Google. Play Travis Scott. It'll just randomly stop playing my fucking music. I hate that shit. Oh shit, yeah, I'm here, boys. I'm here. I'm just scrolling through here. What up, W? What up, X? What do you mean if I'm good? I'm right here, cuz I'm looking at Twitter. I just said so. Fuck this goddamn mouse. I literally just said I was looking at Twitter. Oh, this mouse is so garbage, bro. I try to move it 1 inch to the left and it disconnects. Yo, what up? I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. Hey, we chilling, we chilling. How you been, man? How you been? Yeah, I appreciate that a lot, man. I appreciate that a lot. Fuck this mouse, bro.
I'll look up to the gen's done anyway, so I won't be in anyone's way.
Hello, gorgeous people. What is
I'm smoking as well, man. I'm smoking as well. Hold up, hold up. Let me get something to drink, and I'm like a fucking fat head. I've been good. I've been good. Woke up from a nap not long ago. I'll grab something to drink. My mouth dry as hell. I got some. Oh. Cheers, boys. And what up, coffee?
going on? And welcome back to another video.
Cold. Cold. It is so icy cold. Cheers. Tell me in 1938, a pound of bacon was 32 cents. But nowadays, you paying upwards almost $7 for that shit.
Started a theory! RK!
The more I scroll around, I just see more and more wild shit. I think before we start fucking playing DBD again, because I do have plans to do that and finish out the levels. Either that or just, I really don't know. I really don't know. I want to finish it though. And we have like literally like 2 levels left. Like half of one, not even that probably, and then we just gotta finish one more level. Like probably like 2 hours game. Yeah, we're gonna eat, then we're gonna play. I wanna eat first though.
Video 9. Delaware Double. Delaware River Journal.
An accidental discovery made by 2 fishermen has sent shockwaves across the nation. Around 4 p.m. on Christmas Eve, Ralph Grassman and Michael Tillin were reeling in the last batch of catfish when something on the ice caught their eye. It looked like a bighorn, one of those hats from way back when, said Grassman, the other of the two who also organized the trip. Grassman walked down the ice to retrieve the hat. When he pulled back the hat from the ice, tumbled back in shock at the sight of a human scalp, partially exposed in the ice. Tillin walked over and after a brief discussion with Grassman, agreed to remove the rest of the body from the ice. The effort took several hours, but by 10
Hold on.
p.m.
Riley Tillin was the person from Corner Folk. Gotta be related.
The effort took several hours, but by 10 p.m. the fishermen were able to pull the entire body from the ice with no further damage.
Nice.
Although both men had presumed that the individual was already dead for some time, Tim exclaimed in shock when he reportedly saw the individual's eyelid twitch. Grassman suggested to immediately take the body home in an attempt to revive the frozen man. They proceeded to carry it back to Grassman's apartment. They laid the body in a full bathtub, gradually raising the water's temperature throughout the night to prevent shock. Grassman claims to have learned this technique from a pulp magazine he had read as a child. At 2 a.m. the following morning, Tillin claimed that an individual briefly regained consciousness and shouted, "Victory or death," while Grassman rested in the living room. By 7 a.m. the frozen individual appeared to have relapsed into a deep coma, which prompted Grassman to phone the local authorities. And that's why he hadn't called medical personnel earlier. Grassman told reporters that he didn't want to risk the lives of the first responders, who had been driving on slippery roads in the dark. Shortly after being phoned, paramedics arrived and rushed the frozen man to the Delaware State Hospital. Throughout the experience, both fishermen thought the individual's face seemed vaguely familiar. It was only when Tillin pulled out a dollar bill that the connection was fully made. When we first dug him out, we moved this close so that we could carry him more easily. clothes weighed a ton because they were completely frozen over. But I bet if we saw the clothes without ice, then we could have no doubt that we dug out George Washington. Although Delaware State Hospital has declined to comment on the identity and the condition of the man, Grassman brought the bicorn hat from the previous day to the Delaware History Museum, where historians confirm to be an authentic piece from the 18th century. The validation raised more questions than answers, as further research revealed that no Washington reenactors or artifacts have been reported missing. Grassman believes that the man he dug out from the ice is the true George Washington, and that the former president had become gravely ill while crossing the Delaware River. Grassman claims that the imminent death of Washington could have been devastating to the war effort, so his condition was likely kept secret by having a double acting as the president until 1797. And asked for an explanation to why the body had been found so far from the site of the battle, Grassman replied, "He either drifted away or his men purposely planted it far away so that no one could find it." During Saturday's morning press conference, President Dean shared his thoughts on the discovery in 2 words. "I'm surprised."
Hold on. Delaware Double aired on WBOC TV on December 27, 1976, and ceased operations on December 28th, 1976. Yeah, it definitely seems like that was not supposed to air on TV, and that's why they got shut down immediately the next day. We're not gonna gloss over the fact that they found George Washington in ice alive. And not only that, but they implied that, or they said basically he died and they didn't want it to affect the war effort, so they placed a double in his place. What? And then Dean, yeah, quote of the year right here.
"I'm surprised."
Thank you, President James Dean. I'm surprised too. What is going on in this series, dude? Video 10. Rockefeller Tree Tragedy. Recollection of the Tragedy by John D. Rockefeller. 1937. And then Virginian Wonderland by Virginia.
During the first winter of the center's construction, the workers set up a Christmas tree just outside the entrance. It was an uncanny sight to see a green fir stand in the middle of what appeared to be a no-man's land. But this tree, humbly ordained with strings of cranberries, buttons, and tin cans, greatly affected me. It demonstrated that even in the darkest of times, the American people will light the beacons of hope. I thought it could be the start of a great and inspiring tradition, so I traveled north to Babylon in search of a Christmas tree for the following year.
For 12 days and 12 nights, Mr. Rockefeller looked for the best tree in the forest. How about this one, Mr. Rockefeller? No, it's much too short. How about this one, Mr. Rockefeller? No, it's much too tall. How about this one, Mr. Rockefeller? No, it's much too average. Mr. Rockefeller soon feared that he would leave empty-handed. Then, on the 12th night, just as he was packing up his stuff, Mr. Rockefeller heard the sweetest tune in the air. It sounded as though the very wind itself had fallen in love. He and his men followed the song and found themselves at the base of a very, very special tree.
So there's multiple special trees.
How about this one, Mr. Rockefeller? It's perfect. For the rest of the night, the men swung their axes at the special tree. Chop, chop, chop. However, when the sun rose, the tree was still standing. Their axes had left no marks at all. Mr. Rockefeller was surprised. The next day, Mr. Rockefeller and his men laid 100 sticks of dynamite around the tree. 3, 2, 1, boom! Yet, the special tree continued to stand. Mr. Rockefeller was surprised. So Mr. Rockefeller decided to hire the best team of grave diggers to take the tree out of the ground. After a week of digging, they told Mr. Rockefeller the tree will be out in 3 years at this rate. Mr. Rockefeller was surprised, but he decided to let the grave diggers work. He would pick the next 3 best trees for the next 3 Christmases. But by the 4th year, the special tree was ready to display.
Yeah, it's such a red flag. Why would you even continue to still go after that tree despite hammering at it with axes and then trying to blow it up with dynamite?
For the last 2 years, I have seldom mentioned the tragedy that occurred at the center. Many have taken offense at my silence, claiming it to be the result of a desensitization to workplace accidents. Indeed, I have seen enough accidents in 3 lifetimes, but nothing could have prepared me for what happened at the center. For some time now, my friends have blamed the center's original construction workers for the tragedy, since it was their very own Christmas tree that had started the whole tradition. But the truth is that their tree brought joy and wonder to the public. It was my tree, and my tree alone, that brought about the unprecedented loss.
Tell me about it. Tell me about what happened with the tree. What did the tree do?
On a cold December morning in Midtown Manhattan, Rockefeller's men slowly raised the special tree. Heave ho! Heave ho! Heave ho! By the afternoon, the special tree stood tall and still. It was unlike any other tree, having no color, branches, or leaves. The man
That's a pretty ass tree to put up in Rockefeller Center like that. Why would you even pick that tree? Because it sang to you? Okay, and it's still ugly.
Mayor of New York, Mr. Guardia, thought that the tree was too bare and asked for branches to be added so that ornaments could be hung. Mr. Rockefeller didn't agree. He thought the tree was perfect, just the way it was. But since Mayor Guardia had been one of his best friends, Mr. Rockefeller told his men to glue some branches on. I, Virginia, watched as the men placed branches on the special tree. I had saved my money for over 9 months to purchase a little star ornament because I wanted to be the very first person to decorate the Rockefeller Christmas tree.
How much money was an ornament that
It
you...
laid in my pocket while I watched because I planned to hang my ornament as soon as the tree was standing. After the final branch had been added and all the men left, I quickly ran up to the tree. But to my astonishment, the lowest branch of the tree was over twice my height. I jumped as high as I could, but still, the lowest branch was out of my reach. I was very disappointed. I wanted to be the very first person to decorate the tree, but now I had no chance. Unless I called my friends. At once, I began counting my friends on my fingers. There was Helen, Charles, Elizabeth, Alice, Joseph, Elsie, Orville, Edith, Olive, and Philip. 10 friends that I could ask for help. Then I realized that 10 friends standing on each other's shoulders could put me at the very top of the Christmas tree. My star could be the first and the tallest. Without a second to spare, I ran from door to door asking for help. Knock, knock, knock. Helen, are you there? Knock, knock, knock. Charles, are you there? Knock, knock, knock. Elizabeth, are you there? Eventually, I gathered all 10 of my friends at the bottom of the Rockefeller Christmas tree.
They'll be friends.
I told them my plan, to have them all stand on each other and form a ladder for me to climb to the top. My
On
friends
God.
understood my excitement, and they quickly started to climb onto each other's shoulders. Ow! Helen had stepped on Charles' fingers. Ow! Charles had stepped on Elizabeth's fingers. Ow! Elizabeth had stepped on Alice's fingers. After many groans and tumbles, my friends formed a sturdy ladder, and I began to climb. My joy grew with every passing face, and before I knew it, I was at the very top, looking down at the tree. My ladder of friends swayed back and forth, and occasionally felt like it was about to collapse. But I tuned out the movement and focused on the tree.
Good, yeah,
Closer,
get the
friends,
thing on there.
closer. Then I secured the metal star at the top of the tree. It was perfect. Hooray! Victory! I'm the first! Just then, there was a strange sound. The tree began to shake. Its glued branches fell off all at once, and the entire tree slowly bent backwards. Soon, the very top of it touched the ground, forming a perfect arc. It was like a very strange rainbow. My heart sank as I saw my star gently slide to the ground from the tree's top. Bolts of lightning then shot out from inside the arc of the tree, producing thunderous booms. The lightning scared my friends and me. We all tumbled to the ground and ran in all directions, but the lightning caught up to us. I was blinded by a great white light. I remember when my eyes adjusted, I was in a field of special trees, and I saw... In a flash, I returned to the street where my friends and I had been struck by the lightning. We were all on the ground, being attended to by other people. I had scratched my legs badly, and I could see that my friends were also hurt. I looked up at the Rockefeller buildings, and I thought that they looked a little different. The whole street looked a little different, and the special tree was nowhere in sight.
Hold on. That was a lot of information. Let me go back to redacted here real quick.
Remember when my eyes adjusted, I was in a field of special trees, and
I saw so many people. One man ran up to me and whispered, "The trees are not trees." So here's my mini theory right now. So obviously the trees are not normal trees. I think this is how it's gonna tie back to the corners and stuff like that. Maybe the trees are a way to hop between realities. Now, give me a second here. For those of you that have finished this series, you're probably looking at me either like I'm smart or I'm goofy as hell. Don't tell me if I'm wrong or not. She says when she comes back that she returns to the street where my friends and I had been struck on by the lightning. But I looked up at the Rockefeller buildings and I thought that they looked a little different. The whole street looked a little different. And then the tree's completely gone. I feel like that could make, you know, real alternate realities kind of happening or something like that. And maybe these trees are like portals. Yeah. Okay. All right. Wait, we still got more left. Maybe this will explain.
It is only natural for the reader at this point to wonder why the incident has been referred to as a tragedy. There had been no loss of life, and, aside from a few temporary scorch marks on the center, no damage to to the surrounding property. I too assumed it was a mostly inconsequential event, likely an electrical accident whose effects were exaggerated by the children at the scene. I was grateful that every life involved had been spared. A death at the center would have weighed heavily on my mind for some time. But when I encountered the results of the children's medical examinations, I wished that a death had occurred in place of the unfathomable.
Because I thought I had a theory, but now I'm think I'm starting to lose myself here.
My mom and pa visited me at the hospital, but they looked completely different. Ma looked worried. After she wiped her tears, she asked, "Did you hang your bear at the Rockefeller tree?" I answered, "It wasn't a bear. I was going to hang a star."
Okay.
To which they asked, "What do you mean?" Pa asked, "Where did you get these clothes?" I answered, "These are my clothes, the ones
It
that
is
helped me
alternate
put on this
reality.
morning." To which they asked, "What do you mean?" My ma then asked, "Why are there dots all over your face?" I answered, "Those are my freckles. I've had them since I was little." To which they asked, "What do you mean?" My parents quietly left my bed and talked to my friends' parents. Then they all started to cry and yell. The nurses made them leave, which made me feel better. None of us thought that our real parents had visited, but they all did feel familiar. Orville and Philip were especially shaken. They didn't even share the same last name with their parents. The nurses tried to convince us that those who had visited us were our parents, and that we would come around to properly greet them after we healed. But it was hard to believe. Whenever I looked out the window, I saw that Manhattan looked different from memory. Mr. Rockefeller himself was kind enough to visit us in the hospital. He asked us whether we were okay, and then after some time, he and the nurses began to ask us some very easy questions about American history. With every reply, they would chuckle and shake their heads, until I told Mr. Rockefeller who I thought he was. He chuckled at first, and then became silent, as if the simple fact had deeply affected him. He had asked all my friends a few more questions about himself, and with each answer, he seemed a little more scared. Mr. Rockefeller quietly stayed with the nurses for a while before he wished us a Merry Christmas and left. That evening, the nurses took x-rays of us to make sure we hadn't broken our ribs. Usually, those taking the x-rays are more than happy to show their patients what the pictures looked like. But when I asked to see them, the nurses ignored me. I didn't fall asleep that night. I kept my ear close to the wall to hear what the nurses were saying next door. I heard one sentence over and over. Everything's backwards. I wonder what they meant by that. I never told my friends because I didn't want to scare them. But I spent the rest of the night with my hand to my chest, wondering if my heart was ever on the right side.
For several weeks, the children were kept under observation at the Columbia Presbyterian Hospital. I visited them as soon as I had the chance to. All the families of these children were deeply unsettled, for they had all independently come to the conclusion their child had been replaced by a doppelganger. They claimed that these new sons and daughters possessed substantial differences from their real children. The majority of differences involved altered physical attributes and the inability to recognize familiar locations and characters, such as their parents and their homes. Two boys even claimed to have names different to those that their mothers had given them at birth. But of all the discrepancies, the most bizarre was their faulty recollections of notable persons and events. For instance, each of the affected children claimed that I had become the wealthiest man in America through an oil monopoly. It is common knowledge that I did indeed work at an oil refinery in my youth, but to entirely deny my 2 terms as president and insist instead that I had always been a mere philanthropist struck me as being particularly odd. The families were agonized by the children's behavior. Some continued to search for their real children. I support their endeavors, for I do not believe that the children's afflictions were the result of hysteria. Every day, I find myself recollecting the day that I had selected the tree. I have since realized the difficulties involved in the removal of it should have repeatedly discouraged me. And had I been discouraged, the families of those children would not be experiencing the anguish that they currently have. Perhaps I never had the opportunity to select another tree. Perhaps I was meant to select that tree regardless of my persistent character. Perhaps we are all trolleys, forced to follow the path of the track to each of our destinations. I take solace in that thought. Or perhaps the tree chose me.
My name is I Forgot. Thank you for the $5. The same thing happened with the Washington Monument, remember? When it flipped, they built the monument around the tree because they showed the pictures. Yes, I do realize that now, like that correlation with that whenever, it seems that whenever the tree bends over like that and there's lightning, maybe it is taking those people, whoever's in the vicinity, and transporting them to another alternate timeline or something. Many, including my father, believe that the 1934 Christmas tree vanished. This is untrue. I've seen it wandering in the plaza on many occasions, and it resembles a man far more than any tree. So we have an explanation for really one thing, which is the Washington Monument. And that makes sense why that video is called Washington Wormhole. 20 people went missing, and then obviously 19 of them came back out in 2003. Maybe we'll learn more about that later, that specific incident of how they came back. But it does seem like the same thing happened here at Rockefeller's tree tragedy, where people were just nearby and the tree bent over, transported them to another reality. I like that video because that one gave us like a whole situation and then explained it almost completely all the way through. Video 11. Canyon Crown. My Crazy Grand Canyon Adventure.
A modern one.
Hey. Okay. Me and my brother deep in thought. What is this, made on Windows Movie Maker? Some sick pictures. He's gonna fly. Please don't. Then I saw something really weird. Please show me. Come on, man. What is with these people focusing their cameras? They have so much trouble. It made the whole place smell like vinegar. Come on, man. Music's kind of a vibe, though, I can't even lie. Then I saw it again. Did you fix your camera this time so I could actually see what's going on? I did not expect it to pop out like that. Oh no, we're gonna die. Mr. Squirrel. We did a little research and found out what we saw. It's called a canyon galan, or a canyon crown. It uses vinegar to shrink its huge head back into its body. My dad said the reason we went on this trip was so he could find his sister, Maya. Lincoln Looker. Maya Arnoldson. I think that was Maya. Yup, because it was Maya Arnoldson and this video is by Lauren Arnoldson. Okay, but what is this about? Interesting. Let me see if we do have archivist notes. 2 cameras were used during the Arnoldson's trip, a professional photography camera and a one-time use video camcorder. The inexpensive camcorder produced low quality clips, which were further degraded by the stabilization effects added with the Maze Movie Maker. Good excuse for why one was blurry and one wasn't. Video 12. Freedom Faller. Excerpts from a series of exchanges from 1858. Part 1, Sculptor. Washington, D.C. and Italy. Liberty must stand on the Capitol dome. Yes, so find an artist to bring the statue to life. Would you provide a design for the statue? Most certainly. Freedom 1, Freedom 2, and Freedom 3. Freedom 3 will do, but change her cap. I will remove the cap and begin to cast. 6 weeks later. Freedom is difficult to cast. Apologies for delays. 3 weeks later. Is Freedom on her way? Detective. Inspector Zavino speaking. Mr. Crawford passed away. Monarcha will receive Freedom. Expect arrival in a month. Why did Mr. Crawford pass away? Part 2, Daughter. Text and illustrations by Nina Crawford. Read by an Italian student in Gibraltar.
5 aprile. Gli schizzi di Papino della Libertà sono stupendi. Lei assomiglia alla mamma se fosse una regina. Ho chiesto a Papino se potesse fare una statua che mi somigliasse. Ha detto sì. 10 aprile. Oggi Papino è andato al suo studio. Gli ho chiesto se avesse già iniziato a lavorare alla mia statua ed ha continuato a sorridermi. Io credo di sì. Papino è molto gentile. 13 aprile. Non abbiamo avuto notizie di papà per un po' di giorni. È già successo in passato, dato che è solito lavorare al suo studio per tanto tempo, ma la mamma oggi era molto preoccupata. È andata nel suo studio dopo avermi messo a letto. 15 aprile. Mamma è tornata a casa stanotte e è andata dritta verso la sua stanza. 16 aprile. Oggi è venuto l'ispettore, ci ha chiesto di Papino e poi è andato nella stanza della mamma. Un paio di minuti dopo sono arrivati più uomini. Mamma stava piangendo. Continuava a gridare: lei ha i suoi occhi, lei ha i suoi occhi. Ero spaventata. Sono scappata via dalla casa. 18 aprile. Ricordo Papino dire alla mamma come la statua sarebbe stata messa in una nave chiamata Monarca. Sono andata al porto e l'ho trovata ancorata là vicino. Accanto alla nave c'erano alcune scatole. Parti della libertà erano in ciascuna di esse. Mi sono intrufolata in una scatola che era vuota. Spero che venga mandata dove sta Papino.
Oh my god.
Sento il suo spirito vicino alla libertà. 21 aprile. Sono molto affamata. Le scatole sono legate con una corda, quindi non posso uscire da sola. C'è un forte rumore nella stanza, come dell'argilla trascinata per il pavimento. Posso sentire le corde che vengono tagliate e qualcosa di grosso uscire da una scatola. È Papino? Ci sono molti altri suoni, come legno che si rompe. Dato che le corde sono rotte, sono uscita in fretta dalla scatola ed ho trovato del pane e della frutta nella stanza accanto. Mi sono sbagliata. Non è Papino, ma ha i suoi occhi. 24 aprile. Ho paura di entrare di nuovo nella scatola. Ieri ha fatto suoni più rumorosi. Mentre cercavo per del cibo, credo che mamma mi abbia vista. La scatola è l'unico posto per nascondersi. Le corde continuano ad essere rotte da quella cosa con gli occhi di Papino. Ho paura che quella cosa o quell'uomo possano aprire la mia scatola. Non scriverò più molto, perché ho paura di fare rumore. Scriverò nuovamente quando arriverò sulla terraferma.
I already recorded this portion of the video already, but I want to know, comment down below please, if in the future when they're speaking a different language, do you want me to voice it over in English for you guys, or are you okay with reading it on the screen? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. The thing with Papa's eyes took me today. It held me as it ran through the jungle. Its sword cut hundreds of trees. I could not see much in the dark, but I did see Papa's eyes staring down at me from those metal eyelids. We went down a hole and into a deep cave. After letting me down on the ground, it started a fire by hitting its arms against rocks. It has been sharpening its sword on the rocks for hours now, but it has not ever looked down its blade. Since I've started writing today, the thing with Papa's eyes has been looking at me. Part 3, Captain. Excerpts from the captain's logs of the Monarca. So that's the name of the boat that it was being transported on. 6 crates were loaded at dawn. They are heavy, each containing a part of the large sculpture. Inspector Zeffino told me that it is the goddess of freedom. Each crate was fastened with ropes in the storage room. No sliding is possible. We left Livorno at noon. We landed in Gibraltar at dawn. The ship took hours to steer into port. There were many, many holes in the storage room. Each one allowed enormous amounts of water to enter. Without the tar, we would have sunk. In 3 days, we opened the crates for customs officers. The crates were empty. Gibraltar. Part 4, Commissioner. Written and read by Commissioner H. Morgan.
On the morning of April 29th, we received numerous reports regarding a tremendous force that rushed up the rock, which tore down hundreds of trees and created several landslides throughout the previous night. One civilian likened the phenomena to the work of a gigantic crazed fella. Due to the sheer number of reports and the high level of concern in the surrounding community, I deployed myself along with 13 officers to the rock in search of an explanation. We discovered that there was indeed a newly forged trail through the dense foliage stretching almost the entire height of the rock. The trail was astonishingly linear, with no bends in the path. The cuts to the trees themselves were precise. The downed trees continued to be warm to the touch, presumably due to the extreme speed of this force. A few fires present along the trail were extinguished by fellow officers as we traversed the rock. The path ended at a large crevice in the ground, which looked to be an entrance to a large underground cavern. After requesting additional men and equipment, Officer Hadley descended into the crevice. It was not long until Hadley exclaimed in fright and urged us all to enter. Within the following hour, the majority of us were in the cavern, which appeared to be an undiscovered offshoot of St. Michael's Cave. In the middle of the location stood a plaster model of a tall Greco-Roman statue of a woman. Surrounding this sculpture were the splayed remains of an individual, flattened like a set of clothes. A hollowed-out torso was stretched a quarter of the way up the statue, the sight of which compelled a few of the officers to exit the cavern. The human remains were collected and sent to the morgue, while the sculpture was cleaned and lifted out. The statue's blade, held in its right hand, matched the cuts present on the downed trees. Despite the fantastical implications of this detail, the Gibraltar police force officially concludes that the work of the crazed fella was nothing more than the result of heavy winds.
So the Gibraltar police force were just like, you know what, let's tell the public it was just winds. Totally wasn't the statue that has the same cut marks on its blade as it does on the trees or anything like that. I mean, I guess that's the more believable option, is that it was just the wind, but still.
The Gibraltar police force officially concludes that the work of the crazed fella was nothing more than the result of heavy winds. During a secondary investigation,
I was astonishingly battled by that fact.
The translation of its Italian text is in progress.
Oh, they're gonna have a bad awakening when they translate that. Part 5, Craftsman, Freedom, written by Philip Reed.
Arrives the tight-knit wooden ship. The plaster body is absent. Instead, a tall, wounded woman sleeping in its vessel,
Is
donning a helmet wrapped in a robe, clutching a sword and a damaged shield. Overheard a conversation with the captain, a violent conflict with Freedom at the port in Gibraltar. They tell me inside her is the blaster, and I walk away, silently believing Freedom craved liberation so terribly she tried to take it for herself. But off the ship, she was dragged away. Freedom locked up. Freedom in chains. They tell me I have to take it out of her. So hook, rope, peel, and pull. When it was done, Freedom stood motionless. Freedom stood still. I see the final bronze woman, and I feel as if, maybe even hope, she's only dormant now, and will awaken again.
I'm just gonna continue. Anti-Dean Association storms U.S. Capitol. Millions look on in horror during its attack on democracy. The Statue of Freedom is shot down by Ada gunfire. It's awake again. Monument Mythos Season 1. Quite the first season to an analog horror series. I think that might be one of the best presented series yet. It really presents everything in a very similar style, and everything feels just really well organized. Now, you probably have a crap ton of questions. When I streamed this, I was told that you're supposed to walk out of Season 1 with a ton of questions. You're not supposed to know a lot. A lot more is revealed to you later in Seasons 2 and 3, so I say it's best that we look forward to that for a lot of our answers. For example, why does the Liberty Lurker machine even open for the monster? Like, what is the purpose of it opening for? Who is the Air Force One Angel? What is it? What are all these things?
There's so much.
Now let's learn about the sides and corners of different shapes. A side or an edge is a line segment that joins two adjacent corners of a shape. A corner or vertex is the point where the two sides touch. Let's look at this triangle. It has three sides. 1, 2,
Okay.
I can't tell. Wow, this is insane. Mythos, please go over there, purchase the plushie. It is $30, I believe. Yeah, it's $30, but it's a pretty cool little plushie. Pretty dope. Very creepy. I might cop one myself, to be honest. I think I have to. So I am going to. I'm saying probably, but I definitely will. Abby, thank you for the 5. Always appreciate your love and support, Abby. I hope you have a good shift at work. Killer, thank you for the $3. Much appreciated. And It's Psycho, I'm sorry if I did not thank you for becoming a member. Chat is flying right now. I'm really sorry if I missed anybody. Trust me, I'm not trying to miss anybody on purpose.
It has 3 sides. 1, 2, 3.
Bro.
It also has 3 corners. 1, 2, 3.
Wow. All right, we're starting off heavy. What the hell did I just watch? Hold on. Let me just check something real quick. I believe isn't Alex Mr. Manticore? Yeah, volume warning for the whole stream, by the way. Analog Horror always goes really low in volume and then really high, so definitely expect that to happen. Yeah, so Alex is the creator of... I'm really confused. Alex is the creator of Monument Mythos. In all of season 1, at the end of every video, it always says like by Alex. And I always thought that was just you know, saying it was him. But this is weird that it's like this is... I do know he changed his name to Mr. Manticore. I'm not sure about the whole story based on that, but I am not Alex. I just move luggage. Alex based Riley Tillin on me. Riley Tillin, I believe, is the person from Corner Folk, who ended up going to like that corner dimension, right? Come on. I'm whipping out the Analog Horror book, my notebook that I got my notes down on. I forgot to take it out before. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Riley Tillin was from Corner Folk. So Alex based Riley Tillin on me. And then Girl Geeks 50. A lot of you a little bit about Maze, and they actually reference Maze a little bit in season 1. I believe it's like has to do with the technology of this universe, but let's jump in and check it out. Before you can finish brushing your teeth, before you can finish, popcorn is waiting. Who names a computer popcorn? Maze Manufacturing Plants, 1960 to 1971. 1960.
Consumer Product Safety Commission wanted to know about the mandatory recall of all personal computers. Personal computers may pose a risk to American lives and infrastructure.
What?
But the exposure of your computer at a local hazardous tech collection center. Your safety is of the utmost importance to us.
Why did they recall the computers? In 1960, Maze Machines is founded by Rob Careers. And who else was that?
Alright, I need to start talking and sure. I'm just gonna sit here and be boring. So, I know y'all are either just not watching or just have my stream tabbed up, but what is happening there is actually something that I can understand by just sitting here watching it and just fucking around. So, if you all notice the map here, and actually, I need to grab me a Mountain Dew if we're gonna be theorizing on this. Alright. I grabbed the spare one. Oh, I still have one sitting in my fridge. I actually fucking forgot about that. Oh no, I got two sitting in there. Alright. So if we go back to the map. You know? Let the map finish. Now, if you notice, strategically, look, and it's not the gaps, by the way, but look, each one of these places have something where something has been saw with monuments. See, over here, this is North Dakota right here. Then over through here, you have Washington and New York right through there and all that shit. Over through here, I forgot exactly what it is, because I forgot like the first like 10 or 12 episodes of this, but there's that. You go up through here, we're gonna have the Grand Canyon right around here. I don't know which place it would be. I can't really tell without the outlines of the states. Yeah. That's what it is. It's a map. So we're gonna go ahead and say this right. If this is where maze manufacturing plants are stayed at, and every single stop where something has been seen at either a national place or a monument or statue for that matter, if we're gonna go ahead and say that, I'm gonna go ahead and say that Maze Industries is the ones behind what has caused all these monuments and stuff to start doing this. Because look, it's not a coincidence. Trust me. With that zoom in, it kind of emphasizes that that map has significance, and that their facilities have significance with what's going on.
What?
But the exposure of your computer at a local hazardous tech collection center. Your safety is of the utmost importance to us.
Why did they recall the computers? In 1960, Maze Machines is founded by Rob Careers. And who else was that? And Rob Watroba. In 1969, President Dean establishes the Department of Technology, uniting all major American computer corporations and allocating billions of dollars towards technological advancement.
Now this delegation pays him this ovation and rises to its feet.
By 1970, Maze produces the first personal video camera and home computer. In 1972, Maze collaborates with the Department of Defense to initiate the first system to control the true forces of mass destruction. Project Horned Serpent.
I know everybody knows what that's from. If you know what it means and what it's actually from, then you'll get the meaning behind that. Look at the slits, by the way. This was used way back in the day by Americans as well. I know your history.
In 1980, Maze is attacked. In 1990, the last American personal computer is shut down on national television. In 2000, we've learned from our mistakes. Control is confidence, and today there are no doubts. With Maze Movie Maker, now you can take control. Quick little thing about the Maze Movie Maker thing. They actually mentioned that the person that made the, oh my god, why can't I remember it?
Canyon Cock.
Second to last video of season 1.
The Canyon Cock one.
That person takes a trip to...
The Canyon Cock Tickler.
Oh my god, where did they go? Where did they go? What was the name of that place?
The Grand Canyon
Oh,
Cock
it's gonna drive me
Tickler.
insane. I should have had season 1 pulled up. Yo. Exploring under a maze factory. Don't worry guys, we are going to go back. I know that there are a few things that we need to go over about this video.
Clearest video yet.
But first we spread the word. Beware the monuments, they are all connected. The military-industrial complex grows. Wait, so Maze spread the word? It was Maze that was doing all that? The cave was very quiet and humid. Yeah, it looks really wet. The air felt charged too.
Hey, yes, sir,
There were no
Sab!
light fixtures or any pieces of equipment.
Man, I hope you're
No
having a great
animals,
one.
Not even bugs. It felt so empty. What happened here? Come on, don't. I'm already confused enough. You don't have to blur things out. Okay, some of this stuff is so wet that it seems like it's organic.
It's gonna
and
be a loud
alive.
noise. I'm telling you right now, noise warning. Oh, never mind. He got electrocuted.
Alive. Do not visit these sites. They have not been fed in years. Oh my, down here. I don't know what video the looking to my geography. This US have potential as we go along. Oh, you're saying that that last video was seized from Maya, and that's why it says property of Maze. Like Maze took the video. Okay, I get it. 7:44 a.m. April 6, 2021. President Clinton announces nuclear solution. Oh, Maze News. Did you see that? For the last 2 weeks, the container ship Ever Given was obstructed. Okay. For the last 2 weeks, the container ship Ever Given has obstructed the Suez Canal. With every passing hour, it is costing the global economy over $400 million. At the request of the Egyptian president, the United States will end the crisis with nuclear force. Both Congress and the United Nations Security Council have approved the use of a small thermonuclear weapon on the Suez Canal, several miles from the Ever Given's location. The blast itself will not reach the ship. However, the waves generated are expected to dislodge the Ever Given from its present position. Evacuations of the cities along the waterway are in progress. said I was going to try not to pause as much as possible. So the boat just got stuck, and they're going to dislodge.
That actually happened, by the way. I don't think the ship's name was the Ever Given, but there was a ship that blocked up a canal that literally shut down a goddamn global fucking waterway. That something like that has happened. I forgot when.
A major jump. Like, there's really no other way to fix that. That's their only option that they thought of.
How else are you gonna get a goddamn
Bro, just
ship
push
stuck
it
in the
out.
Suez Canal?
Interesting though that this is taking place in Egypt and not in America. It's 2020. No, there's no way. Whoa.
Okay, why did it...
No, there's no way. Whoa. Twitter machine? Where did the Ever Given go? The ship disappeared according to officials. It got up and left. Why is everyone confused? Remember the ship that was stuck in the Suez Canal? It just disappeared. Is that the ship?
Heard that.
The Americans just released a monster. Nobody asked for a sequel to Attack of the Crab Monsters. The Americans destroyed the Suez Canal and released a demon. Great. This is totally how Twitter would go. So is the ship alive or is there something underneath? Suez Canal crab will not be destroyed, says UN Security Council. The crab cannot be eliminated without causing great damage to the Ever Given. In this day and age, the world is unprepared for a loss of cargo of such magnitude. Therefore, the Suez Canal crab will not be destroyed. At this time, no containers will be lifted from the ship since low-flying aircraft cause the organism to ambulate unsteadily. In hopes of returning the Ever Given back to the sea, efforts are underway to carefully manipulate the crab's route through Egypt. How are they going to manipulate its route? Barricade 1. Barricade 2. Cairo? Dr. Disturbing presents.
Hello.
Oh, this is a long video.
And then tell me, what do you think about the tower? It's your first visit here, so what do you think about the tower?
I thought it was a really good tower. It was very interesting to go up it. It gave you a really good sense of how busy Cairo is, so I really enjoyed it.
That was terrific. It was really great to get kind of a sense of the scale of the city. It's kind of difficult to do that when you're walking around down on the street.
It's a breathtaking view, and it really gives you a terrific perspective of the whole city. And I loved it up there. I spent a couple of hours up on the top.
The 2021 Cairo Tower Stampede.
Due to evacuations around the Suez Canal,
I do not stop powder. I might take a sip. I might hit the plum and I'm liable to trip. I ain't popping no people. What you do is you wish. I roll with some fiends. I love them to death. I got a few men, but not all of them rich. We're good as the Brennan. My niggas is broke. We're good as for cousin. My niggas can't sit. That's my next mission. That's why I can't quit.
Capacity limit increased from 700
Just put the
persons
roadie rap back on my wrist. This watch came from Drizzy. He gave me a gift. Back when the
April
reggae was
16th,
praying, I dissed. They
2021,
acted
3
too
days
much,
prior.
cannot
On the
coexist.
evening
But
of
I never
April
beef with that
16th,
nigga for nothing. If I smoke a
upwards
rapper,
of
it's gonna be legit.
1,200 visitors toured the Cairo Tower at
It won't be
once.
because my shit ain't selling the
Although
same. It
concerns
won't be to
of
sell you my
overcrowding
latest.
have
Those
been
niggas.
raised
It
by
won't be because some
several
nigga slid in my
building
lane. Everything
manager
grows.
dismissed
It's
their
destined to
comments.
change.
Since the Suez Canal crab would be passing by later in the evening, he also encouraged visitors to enter the upper levels of the tower, as that would provide a better vantage point. At 8 p.m., the Suez Canal crab was observed to have turned toward the Cairo Tower and proceeded to approach. Despite an alert sent out by the Egyptian government for civilians to immediately vacate structures in the crab's path, most visitors ignored the warning and stayed on the upper levels of the Cairo Tower as it came near. At 8:15 p.m., the Suez Canal crab was seen to have stumbled, and in an attempt to regain its balance, crashed into one side of the Cairo Tower, killing over 200 people. The resulting tremors that traversed the building damaged its staircases and elevator systems beyond repair. The cascade of shipping containers from the Ever Given, knocked forward by the momentum of the initial stumble, lasted for over 2 minutes, as an estimated 800 containers broke from their locks and pushed forward an additional 1,000 containers. As all 1,800 containers tumbled down through the building, the structural integrity of the Cairo Tower rapidly diminished. Falling debris and containers are reported to have killed over 800 visitors. At 8:19 p.m., the Cairo Tower fully collapsed, dragging the immobilized Suez Canal crab into the ground. In total, only 39 of the 1,189 visitors of the Cairo Tower survived. 2 of the 15 staff members escaped to safety, including the building manager. None of the 6 security guards survived. Although paramedics and police officers had arrived shortly before the Cairo Tower's collapse, the visibly unstable tower prompted them to collect survivors on the ground and retreat to a safe distance. At 8:41 p.m., a hazardous waste collection team and soldiers of the Egyptian ground forces arrived to contain survivors within mobile quarantine chambers. Due to fears of a potential contagion contracted from the Suez Canal crab, all civilians in the vicinity were placed in quarantine under the authority of Egypt's military in collaboration with the Ministry of Health. Upon impact with the ground, the Suez Canal crab and the Ever Given separated. The large wounds caused by the separation discharged thousands of gallons of seawater and bodily fluids.
Wait, hold on.
All civilians in the vicinity were placed in quarantine under the authority of Egypt's military in collaboration with the Ministry of Health. Upon impact with the ground, the Suez Canal crab and the Ever Given separated. The large wounds caused by the separation discharged thousands of gallons of seawater and bodily fluids. The hazardous waste collection team and soldiers attempted to plug the gushing lesions. However, survivors report that their efforts were mostly futile due to the team's inability to stay standing on the slippery ground. With the number of accidental falls among the troops on the increasingly wet ground, the Egyptian army diverted its focus from closing wounds on the Suez Canal crab to evacuation efforts. By midnight, the civilian population within a 3-mile radius of the fallen Cairo Tower had been completely evacuated.
April 17, 2021, 2 days prior.
On the morning of April 17th, Egyptian authorities publicly announced that the Suez Canal crab had fallen in Cairo and laid in a vegetative state. Although the Cairo exclusion zone was primarily intended to prevent any media coverage of the crab and the surrounding destruction, several journalists managed to record footage of the site through the assistance of private helicopter pilots.
Let me see.
By 8 a.m., clips of the crab were trending on Twitter. Members of the Anti-Device Association attributed the severity of the disaster to the development of intelligent devices, specifically Twitter machines. They reasoned that due to the popularity of Twitter in America, the Ever Given was overstocked with T-machines, which weighed the ship down and consequently caused the initial obstruction of the Suez Canal. On Twitter, the ADA released a vicious string of messages criticizing Twitter, Hillary Clinton, and Egypt. Along with images of the Suez Canal crab, photos of scattered goods that had fallen out of the shipping containers became a popular topic of discussion. One image of a sports car resting on top of debris would be retweeted by the ADA with the caption, "The Cairo Exclusion Zone is a conspiracy to keep goods in Egypt. The American people have been robbed." The tweet was shared by over 10 million users. Taking notice, the ADA followed up with tweets suggesting that an Egyptian soldier had driven home the sports car in the image, and that the goods needed to be rescued by their rightful owners.
Bro.
The ADA deemed April 19th as Finders Keepers Day and urged all Americans to travel to Egypt to obtain the goods left by the fallen Suez Canal crab. Overnight, an estimated 12,000 flights to Cairo were booked by American citizens.
April 18th, 2021, one day prior.
Although a few trespassers had been apprehended in the Cairo exclusion zone, officials did not foresee any further disruptions at the site. Medical personnel attended to survivors in the quarantine chambers. Soldiers cleared rubble and attempted to control the spread of the Suez Canal crab's bodily fluids. By 5 a.m. on April 19th, approximately 20 million gallons had been contained through aerial drops of sawdust and an extensive effort to mop the premises. Although several officials discussed a plan to lay down military-grade mats to enable the hazardous material collection team to walk up to the crab for closer analysis, it was ultimately decided that no further action would be taken until the following evening, as it was believed that the midday sun would evaporate most of the fluid.
April 19th, 2021, the
At 12
Stampede.
p.m., over 12,000 Americans gathered in front of the gated entrance of the Cairo exclusion zone. 4,000 Egyptian police officers and soldiers stood behind the perimeter to guard the exclusion zone from trespassers. At 12:03 p.m., violence erupted when an American shot a police officer in the face. Consequently, tear gas was used on the raging mob. Tanks and heat rays arrived shortly afterwards to deter any trespassers. However, by 12:10 p.m., the front entrance gates of the Cairo exclusion zone collapsed from the force of the charging crowd. Informed of the approaching Americans, medical personnel and survivors at the epicenter began to vacate the premises. By 12:43 p.m., the first Americans were seen by officials at the epicenter. Although the wet ground was expected to significantly slow their approach, several citizens had arrived earlier than anticipated since they had utilized car hubcaps to slide quickly across the ground. With no law enforcement at the scene, the American citizens began to collect fallen goods and pry open shipping containers. Popular goods included furniture, firearms, processed food, tea machines, bars of gold, automobiles, and designer clothing. As Americans continued to arrive at the epicenter, more injuries from accidental falls were observed. Concussions and broken arms were the most common injuries during the initial break-in. At 1 p.m., several fights broke out over a Ford pickup truck that had rolled out from a container and crushed a family. 3 aggressors were shot by a man who had found a rifle. The conflict fueled an unpleasant atmosphere, with more instances of gun violence as time went on. One notable incident saw the discovery of a container of firearms by a group of young children. The accidental firing of an automatic weapon by one child prompted the intervention of their parents and other adults. The resulting verbal argument escalated quickly and broke out into a full-scale gunfight with over 14 armed subjects, including the children. Another fight erupted after the discovery of a deluxe barbecue grill, which 13 Americans had simultaneously called dibs on when the item was pulled out of a shipping container. All 13 Americans died from gun-related wounds. When the last wave of the 12,000 Americans had entered the epicenter, overcrowding ensured that the accidental fall of one individual would trigger a continuous series of additional falls. Without any open space for the midday sunlight to reach the wet ground, the bodily fluid had no time to evaporate, and the number of falls steadily increased. At around 1:30 p.m., one of the posterior legs of the Suez Canal crab twitched and incited panic in a nearby crowd. As Americans attempted to flee, many fell on the slippery ground and were trampled by those rushing behind them. By 1:33 p.m., the screams of the panicked crowd had reached a deafening volume, reportedly being heard over 5 miles away. Due to the reinforcement of the Cairo exclusion zone's gates and orders from the Ministry of Health to prevent any American citizen from leaving the exclusion zone, The massive crowds were kept inside the 3-mile radius of the epicenter, held in place by an orderly line of tanks that flanked the entirety of the zone's perimeter. The gates stood for over 6 hours as Americans ran from the epicenter. Many soldiers became ill at the sight of injuries caused by the thousands of bodies being crushed into the metal bars. By 7:15 p.m., everyone within a half-mile of the gate had perished from extreme pressure. Heat exhaustion, accidental falls, and gun violence were also major causes of death. The Cairo exclusion zone gates were opened at 8 p.m. Soldiers searched for the remaining survivors. Of the over 12,000 Americans who had arrived, only 944 survived. 77 of the American survivors were found kneeling around the Suez Canal crab and claimed to have been promised from a deity that they would survive if they prayed to the crab. However, none of them could account for the remains of dead worshippers that littered the ground around them. They would later establish the Church of the Ever Given during their stay at a local hospital. Howard Melrose, an American journalist permitted to visit the Cairo exclusion zone the day after the stampede, said of the site, "It looked like something from a medieval painting. All of their bodies were jammed into each other. Everyone became one."
The Cairo exclusion zone is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Not at all out of control where it should. All of the shipping containers come to Egypt because don't really. I Jeff. They, I hope they don't call like think that I'm still up $5. Oh, where's Lara? Oh, this is the best for an hour straight, but they're
being disastrous.
People can.
During a broadcast of ABC Evening News, anchor Frank Reynolds told viewers to be prepared for tomorrow and that they would witness the start of a glorious adventure. Word spread quickly throughout the country, and civilians invited friends and family to their home.
Wait, what? Hold on, this sounds... Wait, when did this take place?
During a broadcast of ABC Evening News, anchor Frank Reynolds told viewers to be prepared for tomorrow and that they would witness the start of a glorious adventure. Word spread quickly throughout the country, and civilians invited friends and family to their homes in anticipation of the next day. Although no details of this glorious adventure were known, it was widely presumed to be another exciting TV announcement from President James Dean. Watching parties were organized in living rooms across America, and on the evening of May 13, 1969, after the ABC Evening News ended, televisions were closely watched with millions of unblinking eyes. No one wanted to miss what President Dean had to say.
Yeah, what does he got to say? I'm curious. Is this the broadcast?
James Dean's America is hell. But you still don't believe us. You'll hear the truth from James Dean himself.
Immediately following the broadcast, air raid sirens activated across all 50 states. The sirens blared at a far greater volume than usual and burst the eardrums of every civilian within a 4-mile radius. The resulting panic triggered severe overcrowding at bomb shelters and deadly stampedes in the streets. Thousands were trampled and hospitals were overwhelmed within the hour. Fires broke out in all major cities, and cars left running in the streets produced lethal amounts of carbon monoxide, which flowed into poorly ventilated bomb shelters and suburban homes. In Washington, D.C., the White House was placed into lockdown immediately after the TV hijacking, and President Dean was rushed to a maximum security underground bunker. Able to hear the anguished screams of civilians in the streets above, Dean refused to stay in the shelter. When carbon monoxide alarms went off in the bunker, he urged his staff to exit the White House with him and shut off the vehicles left on the roadways. With a phone call, Dean mobilized the National Guard to assist with the deactivation of the millions of parked vehicles across America. Several more phone calls to high-ranking military officials and world leaders revealed that no nuclear missiles had in fact been launched. President Dean soon realized that the air raid sirens had been hijacked by a domestic organization and immediately ordered all forces of the military to disable every active siren in the nation. When military technicians arrived at the location of the sirens, they found that the bodies of prior technicians, who had perished from the combination of stress and the siren's sheer volume, piled so high as to have formed a ramp to the top of the speakers.
What is going on this season, dude? Hold on, wait, I need to run that back.
Realized that the air raid sirens had been hijacked by a domestic organization and immediately ordered all forces of the military to disable every active siren in the nation. When military technicians arrived at the location of the sirens, they found that the bodies of prior technicians, who had perished from the combination of stress and the siren's sheer volume, piled so high as to have formed a ramp to the top of the speakers. The overcrowding of streets by civilians and unaccompanied cars frequently blocked the path of emergency vehicles and prolonged the process of disarming the sirens. Against his advisor's wishes, President Dean tasked himself with the deactivation of an air siren near the White House. Although he would accomplish the task fairly quickly, Dean sustained permanent ear damage and was rendered fully deaf.
Yeah, it was a stupid idea.
The sheer volume had also caused countless blood vessels in his body to burst and produce several abdominal hernias. His condition was shared among the millions of other Americans who had been near the sirens at the time of their activation. 3 hours would pass before all air raid sirens would be fully disabled. The next morning, at the advice of federal authorities, civilians slowly made their way from the shelters back to their homes. Although some continued to stay in the shelters for fear of radioactive fallout, most accepted the explanation given by military officials over the radio. There is no nuclear holocaust. A domestic terrorist organization hijacked the sirens of America. The streets were littered with bodies and automobiles. The National Guard handed out blindfolds to the young, sick, and elderly as they exited the shelters to prevent the scenes of bloodshed from causing fainting spells and heart attacks. At the Walt Disney Medical Center, physicians examined President Dean and other members of his staff who helped disarm the sirens. All were diagnosed.
Out of all the stuff that just went down, let me be sure I heard that right.
Spells and heart attacks. At the Walt Disney Medical Center, physicians examined President Dean.
Yes, you heard Walt Disney, fuckhead.
Help disarm. Against his doctor's advice, Dean insisted.
Or is Disney not a thing in general, and it's just a medical center? I was thinking it's a Disney hospital, but it's probably just not even a. Are they implying that Disney doesn't exist in general, and it's just a hospital in this timeline? Dude, this is all right. Let's just go over real quick what's gone down so far. So Dean, notoriously for putting out his amazing broadcasts, right, on TV that people are like, you know, gushing over. They love Dean's broadcasts. On the broadcast that gets put out, it seems that there was a TV hijacking, most likely or definitely by the Anti-Dean Association, where they played what we watched and then they set off the nuclear sirens at such high volumes that people's eardrums were bursting People were running out of their cars, running into fallout shelters. People were spazzing out across the country, freaking out about it. And it was all just because that they hijacked the sirens and they hijacked the news broadcast. The question is, why does, like, I understand not liking a political figure, right? But they have to know something if they're going this far with it. Like, the Anti-Dean group has to know something about this dude that they are so heavily against him that they would cause all of this insanity to happen. Like, you're not even just messing with him at this point, you're messing with, like, the whole country. It's insane what they're doing to go that far. And then, you know, Dean, being the god of all presidents, was like, I'll go out there and do it myself, and, you know, made sure to try to fix the situation the best he could, even though he messed up his own body trying to turn them off. Mr. Macula, you don't think it was the Anti-Dean Association? I don't think did they say it was? I feel like it's implied that it was them, because they like to, you know, do Dean dirty like this. But I guess, did they not say the specific names? I don't know if they specifically said it was the Anti-Dean Association.
All were diagnosed with severe hearing loss. Against his doctor's advice, Dean insisted on issuing a public statement on the traumatic events that had transpired. Although he initially wanted to appear on live television, a glance at the mirror discouraged him, as he saw the countless bruises and tears present on his skin due to the intensity of the sirens. In coordination with technicians from the Department of Defense, President Dean instead organized a large-scale radio broadcast utilizing the very air raid sirens they had disabled. Later that night, a bruised Frank Reynolds would announce on ABC Evening News that Dean would speak through the sirens and that captions would be displayed simultaneously on television for viewers who were hard of hearing.
I don't think that's the smartest move. To use the sirens that just cause so much chaos to play your message, I don't know if that's a bit weird. Yeah, radio all the deaf people. I mean, they said they're gonna put captions on the TV, but they probably should have just done it on the TV to begin with. Seal of the President of the United States. He will be with you in just a moment.
It's Jimmy speaking. I'm sorry, very sorry for what's come to pass. I wish I could bring back your friends, your family. I want to fix everything. This is not the announcement I planned for. But as you know, there are people who have it in for us. The Anti-Dean Association. They hijack our systems. They hurt people. The Anti-Dean Association is an anti-American association. I want you to keep an eye out for them. They will not be hard to find because they are very proud of their silly ideas. Find them and bring them to your local authorities. We'll make things right. We have places for people like them. This is Jimmy signing off.
Over the
Again, I don't know what it is, but there is something sketchy about this man that I do not like. I don't know what it is, but he's cooking up something, and I don't think it's gonna be good. I don't know. There's just something in the way he said that. I don't know.
The next week, hundreds of thousands of anti-Deaners would be apprehended and sent to correctional facilities around the United States. These facilities, meant for the anti-American, were aptly located near or at national monuments in order to symbolize a return to American virtues. Most would stay for merely a few weeks before being...
I was thinking that in my head. I should have said it out loud. I was thinking, what if they apprehend these people and then use them for the monuments? And that is exactly what they just said. We bring them to the monuments to, America. Nah, bro. You're that's some sketchy stuff going on there.
Released again. Friends and family of rehabilitated anti-Deaners frequently claimed that they would have improved
Hold on, I'm going back.
Facilities around the United States. These facilities, meant for the anti-American, were aptly located near or at national monuments in order to symbolize a return to American virtues. Most would stay for merely a few weeks before being released again. Friends and family of rehabilitated anti-Deaners frequently claimed that they would have improved personalities, no recollection of their past criminal activities, and even slightly altered physical appearances. These methods...
Oh my god! Were they just switching them? Were they just switching them with alternate reality versions of them? They weren't feeding them. They weren't feeding them because they come back to their families, but they look slightly different and their moods are different and they have no recollection of their criminal past. That screams like that alternate version thing, like what happened at the Rockefeller Center. Yes, exactly. Yes, HTML, like exactly what happened to the children. They swapped them. They literally just swapped them. How does that work?
Were so effective in calming the terrorists' recollection of their past criminal activities and even slightly altered physical appearances. These methods were so effective in calming the terrorists that many innocent civilians requested themselves to be sent to these facilities in hopes of radically changing their lives. However, federal authorities would deny any admission to those who were not affiliated with the ADA. During one address, President Dean acknowledged the high volume of requests from the public.
Dude, this is crazy.
Hey, it's Jimmy again. A lot of you want to be sent to the same places we're sending those anti-Deaners to. I get it. Those who come out of these places, they look clean as a whistle. But if we send you to those places too, then those correctional facilities lose their purpose. If we send everyone to prison, then what's a prison anymore? This is Jimmy signing off.
On the morning of May 22nd, 9 days after the disaster, President Dean received a state-of-the-art hearing implant from Maze Machines, an up-and-coming tech company. Around noon at the Walt Disney Medical Center, the device was surgically inserted into Dean. The sound quality of the implant and the speedy nature of the surgery inspired Dean to imagine a new government department, which would be able to oversee the mass production and distribution of quality hearing implants to the American public. That evening, President Dean requested an emergency session of Congress and proposed the ambitious project.
I can't hear a damn thing. Did you hear me? I can't hear a damn thing. Neither can you, or you, or you, or you. It doesn't matter whether you were near the sirens or not. None of you are listening. We need to bring together those technology companies to build and send hearing devices that the public needs. Hearing devices that you yourself need. And through a collaboration with the Department of Health, we can give back to the people what our failures took away. We can let a mother hear her child laugh again, and let a man hear his dog again. We can give everyone their hearing again. And who's stopping you? Listen to the public. You're all about deadlines too. So here's one. By July 4th, I want every American to hear the fireworks.
Due to a malfunction in his auditory implants, Dean was unable to hear himself and as a result spoke much louder on the Senate floor than on previous occasions. The volume of his speech, which greatly amplified his compassion for the American people, profoundly affected the senators, and in the early hours of May 23, 1969, after 10 hours of discussion, the Department of Technology was approved. It was the fastest an executive department had ever been established. By May 27th, all persons with hearing loss attributed to the Anti-Dean disaster would be eligible for the surgical implantation of a hearing device free of charge.
I'll go back.
Mass operating rooms would be established throughout the U.S., able to house over 1,000 patients at once. The use of surgical androids was approved on June 6th, which increased the number of surgeries performed per day over 250%. Once all victims had been treated, those with deafness unrelated to the disaster also became eligible for the surgery. On July 4th, it was announced that there was no incidence of severe hearing loss in the country. The United States was the first nation in the world to eradicate deafness. The achievement had been expected for some time since its first mention during Dean's congressional address. In preparation, many health organizations, both domestic and international, had prepared to host banquets for Dean and grant awards to him and his staff. However, President Dean spent the entirety of Independence Day racing cars with close friend Richard Nixon at a local speedway. Though many would cite the recovery from the Anti-Dean disaster as James Dean's finest hour, the president was never willing to accept responsibility.
All we did was fix some ears.
Like he's talking about how
open the door.
That's the only reason.
Yeah, I guess I'll just open one of these now. What? What? Y'all doing? Going, ma'am? Ow.
Reason why it would make sense why they would literally harass people that wouldn't want it. We're a country. We're up with the right. The Americans. Home. Audio number 1. Excerpts. Audio number 1. Excerpts from an interview recovered.
I get some milk.
Covered from an arson scene.
Oh yeah, hang on. Before we continue on, my mama wanted the weed pen, not the card itself, but just the pen. So I don't have a battery right now, but we are gonna open up the Durban poison. And use it till she gets back, then I'm gonna put it back into its box. So let's go ahead and open it and try her out. Clogged her right out of the box. Oh, it wouldn't be Compassionate Buds if it wasn't for clogging. Not bad. Not too bad, not too bad. 98% Delta 10, so.
Egypt was entirely against excavation. They had every right to be upset when we went ahead with it anyway. We said that their system worked for thousands of years and continued to protect the country. It's right. At the time, the president and our military did not care. We viewed their solution as a problem and just
I'm sorry. Hold on, I gotta go back. I'm so sorry.
continue to protect the country. It's right. At the time, the president and our military did not care. We viewed their solution as a problem and just needed a better solution. American solution, which in this case was excavation.
Excavation of what?
The excavation. TFMD leaves Mars. That's the Lincoln Looker guy. What the hell's the TFMD?
The most of dick.
Once the pyramids were classified as TFMDs by the U.S.
Forces of mass destruction.
Oh, that's right. It means true forces of mass destruction. Wait, so how is this?
You fucking with me.
That'd be a
But by prolonging their growth, the Egyptians bought themselves time to build enormous towers that would better contain the trees.
video number 5 and 6. TFMD is attacked. What are all these balls?
Within the first week of excavation, we found the pyramids extended much deeper into the sand than we had previously thought. The more we dug, the more bricks we had found had already been laid. At the time, we had convinced ourselves that the pyramids had to be finished structures, and it would only be a matter of time before we would reach the bottom. By the third week, we realized that we had been wrong the whole time. The pyramids extended down infinitely. You can imagine our reluctance to tell the public that the pyramids were not pyramids at all. They were towers, infinite towers, all three of them. Towers which contain enormous species of meters before. Who knew that the pyramids were merely the tips of buildings?
TFMD's False Children Land. What is going on? Video number 8. False children organize into the Starry Sphinx. The Starry Sphinx distracts observers as mothership flees. The Great Pyramids Rise. Video 9. Number 10, the other pyramids awaken. Video affected by radiation. Wow, they were not lying when they said that they were just the tips of buildings. Those are some big, big buildings. Diagram number 1, present situation. Sphinx pyramids.
I don't know what. I'm gonna nap one more time.